What is going on, everyone? We are back for the chat with the lads. We've got Ben and Tim, so we're just going to be kind of bullshitting around on Web3 stuff that is up in the news today. And with that, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Oh,
Good.
yes.
Good. So big, I think some big moves since last time we talked, as far as like at least in the Web3 crypto sphere, right? The ups and downs of the world as we know it.
Oh yeah.
Some things tanking, some things coming back. No one knows though, but yeah, there's I think there's been like a lot of like interesting movement things going on, and like some of the most near like so some new things that are up that I think is super interesting is first. So I've got like a couple things that I'm super interested in. One, GameStop came out with their wallet. They're now playing officially in the Web3 space, which is interesting. You know, they're built. I know they had the partnership like with Loopring as like kind of like the L2 for them to start, building their Web3 offering on. I'm curious to see how this goes. I haven't downloaded the wallet. Have you guys at all?
I haven't even looked at it yet.
Yeah, so like, you know, their site as they queue it is that your GameStop wallet for your browser and iPhone, so you can store crypto and NFTs securely, utilize dApps on Ethereum, fast and fairly priced transactions on Loopring layer 2, and self-custodial for full control. So they didn't do a custodial. They did self-custodial, which is interesting.
Yep.
You know, I would have thought that like with their potential target market, doing a custodial wallet or offering some form of a custodial wallet would have been the way to go. But
that's an interesting discussion. I think you and I have had a little bit of talks before, because you're definitely more on the custodial side, I would say, and I come from a background of non-custodial, like it's your responsibility. You gotta take this and do it. And it is interesting, but I think maybe GameStop's looking at the younger crowd that wants to combine their gaming and their crypto together, and these people are already pretty savvy with doing things themselves sometimes.
yeah, and that like I went to the gym this morning with one of my buddies who's like a Reddit degen, but was was in on the whole GameStop fiasco when it came through, and he signed up for his wallet today. And I was asking him, I was like, you got your keys and everything written down, and he said that he did, but this is his first like foray into Web3, which is interesting. And like, I don't think you're wrong, right? Because I try to like play this out, right? So like, what is GameStop's angle? Is that, given who they are, it's in the name, games, right? Can they provide some cool NFT layer for all of these games to plug into? So like, could you have all of these games that are downloaded and stuff on Steam, like everything from like Counter-Strike to Halo to Apex to Call of Duty, like all of these major AAA titles that are available for purchase through GameStop, like are they forming some partnership with all of these big AAA firms to say, hey, if you want to introduce NFTs, like partner with us, we'll have the common marketplace where all of the goods and things are traded. And that, I think, is a pretty compelling offer, because at the end of the day, it might, I know that like when Ubisoft or someone else or so one of the gaming firms came out with the announcement that they'd be doing NFTs, and like there was major backlash like from the community. Everyone was like, fuck no way.
Yeah,
And
what is the main draw for like someone like your friend to get the GameStop wallet at this point, if there isn't a whole lot of tie-ins yet?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I mean, I think that one is that his just like ownership of GameStop and like wanting to be part of it was a huge driver for it.
I think that's it personally. I think that there's going to be a lot of people that will go in maybe to the Web3 world without any prior experience or even care because of the whole GameStop short squeeze.
Right.
They're like I often tell people, Web3 can and blockchain world can sometimes be kind of like a Kool-Aid drinking club. I mean, if you don't drink the Kool-Aid, sometimes you just don't get it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't part of the GameStop situation, but I bought some GameStop just to say, to the man, right? I'm old enough to be the man, but I mean, I did it just because it's like, damn it, I'm throwing my money in, and I just don't care because I just love what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that I ended up talking to that are, make my blockchain Kool-Aid seem like water. I mean, they're like going crazy with this stuff, and I think there's a lot of people that'll just do it because of that. And on a side note, why? I didn't even think about it until you were talking about the NFTs, but I mean, play to earn gaming and spending tokens on NFTs in game is huge. And it's been huge.
Mm-hmm.
And GameStop, if they have a wallet that you can basically take and start doing this in games like, I mean, can you imagine Call of Duty having like play to earn or spendable credits in the game for different weapons and things? I mean, that's just like mind blowing to me.
Yeah, like the I agree, and like that whole idea of like play to earn, right? So like you get on, you grind to unlock camos that you can then turn around and sell on a secondary market to people like me that may not have the hours to put in to get those, but I'm willing to pay money to have them. Is really, really compelling. And yeah, I'm curious to see how they come up. I think that if they do it right, and it's always one of those two where it's like, is there some like critical mass or some like key partnerships? And I'm sure there are, right, that they have to get in order for this to work. Like obviously, I don't know. One side of me says that in order for this to like really take off, is that they've got to get buy-in from AAA titles, to really like explode up. But then there's the flip side of me that's like, hey, what if this is just a great early, location for like indie game makers, right? As new revenue streams, or indie game makers for ways to help subsidize the cost of development, to say, hey, we're definitely, and this may be the AAA titles being like, what, fuck that. I'm not going to open myself up to NFTs. I'm hand over fist taking cash from these idiots from buying in-game stuff that they can't use anywhere else or do anything with. So we're never going to do that. But for a lot of the new, like I said, indie games, this might be a super, super interesting way for them to get to market.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
And I have to say, that actually would make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing. I mean, I'm not a gamer, but I love seeing these little ideas come to fruition and become successful, because I think that drives everybody else, to new heights, even if it's not necessarily you. So I love that. I love that idea of having a place for little guys to go. I think it's great.
Dude, get a gamer with a not a gamer with a gamer chair.
Yeah, well, it's pretty damn comfortable, I gotta say.
Yeah, gamers know how to sit down for a long period of time. You gotta trust them.
That's true. Yeah, I got one as well, and it's great. Yeah, so I can't wait to see how that plays out. How, what the impact for the market is, especially like we were talking on the indie game portion. The other thing that I saw that that was announced, or that's like really kind of taking over, and I'm curious y'all's opinion on it. But this whole NFT domain marketplace like launch. Everything was always .com, and then you got obviously .org and .net, and then you had .eth, and now you have .board, .doge, market .doge, .address, all of this stuff and this ownership through having these these Web3 domains is like blowing up, which is interesting. Never thought about it that much until now.
Yeah, is it gonna end up a situation as where like .eth kind of becomes the .com, and then everything else is the .net, the whatever, like you can have it, but it's not really majorly concerning, or do you think there's going to be more spread out?
I don't know, right? And I think it's one of those that so in my mind the reason why like .com has taken over is because it's it's an extension that you don't have to remember. So like I don't have to remember that it's tim.com. I just know that it's Tim and he has a website. But if it's now all of a sudden we've got .eth and .address and all of this other stuff, like maybe though, maybe right? Like is there a world where extensions become more than just redirects for DNS records? Like does it become way more than just an extension that helps the mechanics under the hood of the web actually operate? And they make the argument of by owning a Web3 domain gives you like complete ownership of it, and eliminates the risk of any centralization or censorship, which I think is interesting, right? For better or for worse, being able to know that you fully outright own this thing, and it's not some, if I don't renew my, whatever Corey.com, that GoDaddy's going to come take it back and then put it into the cycle farm, and the next time I go to buy it, they're going to double the price. Knowing that you own it and it hasn't been scooped up by these these vampire domain companies, I think is interesting. But I don't know. I just don't know from a mass market thing. Does having .address and .eth and all these other ones actually good? Bad? Who knows?
I don't know. I've had one for over a year, and I don't even use it.
Yeah, you have a .eth?
Just to control it?
I have a .crypto.
Mm.
So, and my brother actually owns like 4 or 5 of them, and when we bought one, so a little bit of back context. My brother wanted to learn how to do some blockchain stuff, so we actually built a blockchain for our family. Like we actually have a website. You can go in there, you can earn tokens, you can spend them on the marketplace. We do all sorts of stuff, but you play poker with them. It's just this little family thing. But we got this website domain to be able to use it in this instance of, hey, we're going to do the blockchain. And we just thought, oh, okay, we'll tell all the family members, like the grandkids and everything. But at that time, browsers wouldn't redirect. So the only one that would redirect was Brave, and I think Opera maybe. But trying to get like my 88-year-old dad to like use Brave browser was like not happening. Right?
Yeah.
And so it just kind of like died out. We still have lots of these, different domain names, and I love the concept of it. And this is where my Kool-Aid drink sometimes tastes sour, is that not everything is solved by blockchain. And
Sure.
I know there's going to be a lot of people that don't like to hear that, but there's just some things that are just better without the hassle of the blockchain. I mean, and as much as I'm like, go, get everybody in, because I really believe that this is the technology that's changing the world, and a lot of people don't know it. But that doesn't mean that everything has to be it.
Right.
And this whole domain system of, well, you can't be taken offline and censored is a great concept until they just cut your internet. And then what happens?
Yeah.
I mean, I still can't use it. I mean, it's sitting there somewhere, but I mean, you still can't get to it. You still can't use it. And I love this concept that they're coming out with, but realistically for me, we got 5 or 10 years before they're going to be really usable because the companies still control centralized access for infrastructure. That's kind of where I come from. Now maybe that's wrong, but I guess that's my feeling on it. I've looked at these things for a year and I love them, but I just don't see the point right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean the main thing that I use mine for, so I have a .eth, right? And I just use it as a simple way for people to send stuff to my wallet.
Yeah.
So that way you're not given like a huge thing. It's just, Corey.eth, send it there. Yeah. Boom, you've got it. And that might be the near term fix, but you mentioned something too that was interesting around the whole idea that people are like blockchain's going to fix it all. And I always do feel like whenever there's this big new technology boom, and this is what we saw, or at least I saw a lot with, like when mobile first came around, and like when AI and ML was really like popping off, is that there's always this huge like overcorrection from the market. Like they're like, oh my God, it's going to do everything. And then you start to step back. It's like, well, actually it kind of makes things more difficult for a couple applications, but some it does actually make better. And then some, while it may suck for the use right now, it's just because the tech hasn't gotten there, but in 5 to 10 years, it might actually be whatever that solution is in its purest and like best form. So I do think you're right there. And yeah, I'm curious to see where all of this heads. I wonder too, because I remember when the .eth stuff dropped, when ENS had come out, that there was just like this mad grab for people basically doing exactly what GoDaddy and all the other DNS providers do. And I see the same thing kind of happening now, right? Like there's gonna be people going out just trying to farm as many of these that they can and then start selling them back, which is I guess that's capitalism, baby.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I know a few people that probably own like 20 or 30 of them because they think that they're gonna like quadruple in value, kind of thing. And I mean that's great. I feel, but I don't know. Sometimes
5-10 years, maybe that's gonna be a rough investment.
Yeah, and I actually, and I guess I'm kind of a hypocrite sometimes on it, but I mean I like to make money just like everybody else. But sometimes I don't want to make money on certain ways.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot easier ways for me to make money than working my ass off every day for 5, 6, 7 days a week. But I really don't want to do that. So
yeah,
hoarding DNS names so that I can screw somebody over in the future just because their last name happens to be this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess that actually I don't get it, but all power to those that do it. So
yeah, fair. Yeah, the other thing too that I saw come out today that like super happy to see, right, is that everyone, like, we're obviously in a bit of a bear market. Obviously potential, a lot of indicators pointing towards recession, right? Not just in the crypto, but in the fiat world as well. Like the impacts we're feeling across the market. But there's been a lot of talk, and I think it's right, is that when bull markets switch into bear markets, it's usually the time that builders thrive, right? It's the time where the hype cycles aren't as much. The expectations, I think, are somewhat lowered, and that you can really start to focus on building better product because you have to, right? Like people aren't just going to throw money at things because it's a bull market and like everyone's getting rich. That the trials and tribulations of bear markets do produce like amazing companies. And I saw today that that Binance came out with they closed the new $500 million fund for Web3 adoption, which is huge, especially right now, right? I think a lot of people wouldn't, people on the armchair or on the fringes of all of this are, constantly saying, Web3's in the tank, told you it wasn't real, crypto's tanking, you guys are idiots, yada, yada, yada. It's like, whatever, guys, it's easy to sit out there and say so. But to see another $500 million fund, come out right now, I think is a pretty like compelling thing, right? And that kind of piggybacking on like Andreessen's like 4.5 billion like mega fund for Web3 is that it's still like very validating that capital is flowing into this like market sector, right? And that people are believing that now is the time for the bear builders to come around. And I'm curious to see where like this new capital starts getting like redeployed. I'm a big fan of like Web3 infrastructure companies, right? Web3 tooling companies, things like that, like anything that makes it easier and a lot less as bullish on, the fly by night, maybe kind of get rich quick kind of schemes that have been around for a while.
Which I have to say, and this will probably get me in trouble, but it's funny that coming from Binance, they're doing that when, their chain is kind of known as being the fly by night developer. I'm gonna get a lot of shit for saying that, but
Yeah.
I mean it's true. I mean I've worked with a lot of companies on that chain, and it's there's a lot of them there that just don't care about anything but making a few bucks. So
yeah, that's the tough one, right? And I think that Binance has done so Binance was investors in, like, I think they were investors in Axie and Polygon, and I know that I thought for a while they had a lot of focus into like L2 solution, like from their investment side of the world, right? Beyond like BSC. And yeah, curious to see where it ends up going. I haven't, I did like a small bit of digging this morning, so like wake up to my newsletters and then click into whatever seems interesting. But yeah, we'll be super curious to see and track where that goes. But I think.
Do you think it's going to go towards kind of infrastructure and tooling, or do you think Ben's right as far as Binance is more going to be interested in the flashier? Like, where do you think this fund will actually end up going?
That's a good question, right? Like, so the VC funds like this have pros and cons, right? Meaning that they'll throw money hoping that one of them hits, but when they do that, they put equal pressure across all of those deals for each of those companies to like 10x their returns, like abnormally fast. So if you go into these funds and you take that money, I think it's important to understand where you fall on that optimism scale. And I'm sure that some money will be thrown at ideas that seem like they'll pump revenue and pump valuations really, really quickly. And then, some capital I'm hoping will be deployed to like longer term investment things, such as like infrastructure providers versus just, hey, we'll be able to flip this in 6 to 8 months, or, we plan to do a token drop, or so, I don't know, something that's going to generate a lot of cash fast. But yeah, I don't know. I will be very, very curious to see how they end up using the money, though.
One thing I'll say, and I actually don't know numbers. I mean, I could be totally making this up, but I think from my gut feeling, Binance doesn't really bring in their income as much from builders on their chain compared to their centralized exchange. And I personally think that this coming straight from Binance, and what I said before, I just thought it was kind of ironic, but I actually believe, if I had to make a guess, that I think that they're going to hopefully put it into something that's going to help build to get more people in. Because, I mean, if you're looking at it as a straight, revenue product, they want people in no matter what they're buying, not necessarily just on BSC, right? That's the way I look at it. I could be totally wrong, but
yeah,
I hope it goes to building something, that's here in 2 years.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, too, right? Like I think that the very macro lens on all of it is that any ideas that drive people to come into Web3, and not get burned, not get rug pulled, and actually offer them a great experience, regardless of which chain they're building on, has a net win across the board, right? And yeah, maybe that hopefully, right? Fingers crossed, some of that fund is like geared towards projects that are responsibly creating value in the space. So we'll see. Right. All right, boys. Well, that is it for the lads chat today. I appreciate it. And we'll be chatting next week. Maybe not next week. We've got our face-to-face next week. And then I'll
2
be
weeks.
in 2 weeks. Also, actually, I'll be out then. I'll be cruising around Europe.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate the time and looking forward to our next chat.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
guys.
Later.